Hi Liz, and welcome to our latest version of Pathways to Success, the Danos podcast. So first question, tell me a little snapshot of your background in 2 minutes. What are you working on currently to improve diversity in the workplace?
So I've got a background in recruitment. So I'm originally from Yorkshire, but came down to London in 2007 and joined one of the world's largest recruitment agencies. I initially recruited qualified accountants into banks before moving into HR, recruiting HR professionals into financial services, and then moved in-house 6 years ago and recruited consultants for one of the big four. So at the moment, I'm working on a brand new job board that is launching imminently. I was made redundant from my role in September. And I really struggled. I was working part-time because I'm a working mum, and I really wanted to continue working part-time, and I really struggled to find another part-time job. So every time the recruiter approached me and I mentioned that I wanted part-time, they either told me straight away the role was full-time only or ghosted me. And I'm determined to change perceptions on part-time work and flexible working. So I'm launching a new job board called Investing in Women, which aims to connect working parents or anybody that's looking for flexible work within financial and professional services.
That's fantastic. And so what sort of clients are you actually targeting at the moment?
A variety of clients, but obviously still within financial and professional services. So there's a number of asset management organisations, retail banks, consultancies, which is obviously my background. And then recruitment firms as well that want to improve the gender diversity of the shortlist that they're providing to their clients as well.
And diversity and inclusion is just so important, such an important topic on every firm's agenda at the moment.
Yeah, 100%.
And I sometimes think flexible working is one of those areas that perhaps hasn't been developed as much as some other areas.
The reason I've called it Investing in Women because I honestly think that investing in more quality part-time and flexible work is investing in women. So even though the job board is obviously open to anybody that wants flexible work, I think that is key to retaining women in the workplace. Women after children, a lot of my friends did want to work part-time, and it was an active choice, but they didn't want to be punished for working part-time and being sidelined or having to take roles that, big pay cuts or roles that were way below their skill set. So I do think it's an investment in women and will ultimately close the gender pay gap.
The most important advice that you would give anyone looking for flexible part-time work?
There are certain job sites and things that do specialise in flexible work, and there are agencies as well, a number of recruitment agencies that help like women returners or women that are looking for flexible work. So if you Google them, you can find them. In terms of, you have to normally be working somewhere for 26 weeks, I believe, before you can make a formal flexible working request. But obviously you can make a working request whilst you're interviewing and maybe anticipate the reasons why an employer might say no, so you can have a bit of a counter argument. But I got this question of you, and I thought I think a big thing is not just us as women persuading employers why we as individuals want part-time work. It's employers recognizing the benefits of flexible and part-time work as well, and advertising more part-time and flexible working opportunities as well. And there's so many benefits to employers for advertising roles flexibly. Like there's a lot of studies that show flexibility, productivity peaks at about 30 hours a week. There's another study as well called Parkinson's Law, and I really do think this is true, that a task expands to fill the amount of time you give it. So if I say to you, I need you to do this, I want it done by Friday, you'll make it last until Friday, for example. Whereas if I say I've got this thing and I need it done by lunchtime, you'll get it done by lunchtime.
Which is interesting, because I would have said that, especially people that work in recruitment over 4 days, they will often get exactly the same activity done as someone that's working 5 days, but they just are so focused when they're at work.
Yeah, I was in agency. The biggest biller on our team was part-time. She worked 4 days a week. Everyone else was 5 days. I was 5 days at that point. I didn't have kids, and we would go to the kitchen, we'd gossip, we'd make tea, we'd go on Facebook on our phones. She was just work, and she just left bang on at 4:30, and she billed more than any of us.
When I went to Danos, I went on a 3.5 day week. If I hadn't been headhunted for that position, I would have never probably put myself out there, because I'm not sure at the time Danos would have ever suggested that someone could have done it on a flexible working plan.
I think that more employers need to advertise flexible working, because I also noticed that a lot of women that manage to secure part-time work with their employer after maternity leave stay there, because they know that there's no other flexible working opportunities. And that is a huge contributory factor to the gender pay gap, because as you and I know, being in recruitment, the best way to get a pay rise is to change job. And if you can't change job because there's nothing else out there, the gender pay gap just widens and increases, and it's really hard to catch up then. 10 years down the line, you think, I'll go full time now, but by that point everyone else is 10 years ahead of you.
Sure, I know, it's really interesting, isn't it? So what do you think is the biggest workplace challenge, or has been yours even, and how do women or men overcome that?
Like I said, I think the biggest workplace challenge facing women is the lack of quality part-time work. I've got so many friends that for whatever reason either left their job after children or were made redundant like me, and then they couldn't get back in, and now they're working. They're educated women, they've got postgraduate degrees, they're working for £10 an hour in an admin job because they wanted something part-time and there was nothing at their level. So I think that is the biggest challenge facing women at the moment in the workplace, the lack of flexible work, and openly advertised flexible work, because it stops people applying.
And it's just getting companies bought into that and getting bought into the benefits, the results, the effect on attrition levels. Everybody says that diversity and inclusion improves companies' productivity, and this is just so key to it, isn't it? Actually.
And also increases their gender diverse teams deliver an 18% return on equity premiums. That's according to McKinsey. And the UK gender gap, by bridging the UK gender gap in work, has the potential to create an extra 150 billion to GDP forecast by 2025. So it's so good for employers, it's good for society, and ultimately it's good for families, because And what results would you like to see around this D&I topic in the next 5 years? Are there any firms as well specifically that may be championing it? So Zurich are doing brilliantly. So they were the first firm in the UK to advertise all their vacancies as having flexible working options. Every single vacancy, nearly 20% more women applied for a management role, and the number of women hired for senior positions rose by 1/3. And a lot of female staff then reported that because the role was advertised as being open to flexible working, that was what made them apply. So that would be brilliant if all roles were advertised as being open to flexible working. But if not, at least 50-50, there'd be as much choice for part-time and flexible as there is for full-time. Because you go on, when I was applying for part-time jobs, I went on Reed, I was in 950 recruiter jobs, only 30 for part-time.
Wow. And you really do need just senior management and board level championing it, don't you really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today on
That's
our
all right.
podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.